הגבר שיפתח באדוני והיה אדוני מבטחו ברכו אדוני הדיין כי באדוני צור עולמים ויפתחו בך יודי שמך כי לא עזבת דרכך אדוני אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר ברוך הגבר אשר יפתח באדוני והיה אדוני מבטחו ברכו אדוני הדיין כי באדוני צור עולמים ויפתחו בך יודי שמך כי לא עזבת דרכך אדוני אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר ידיר עליי ויפתחו בך יודי שמך כי לא עזבת דרכך אדוני אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר
Come on back to your Father's truth and return to the holy root. Come on back to the wisdom of home and realize that you're not alone. Shine your light like your mother said, for you were there when we were led. And there's a path for us all to see. Just grab that lamp that's at your feet. Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba B'tom Cheha Me'usha. You can hear it, it's in the breeze. It's a story written in the leaves. And though those branches, they may wind and weave, it's a tree of life. Etz Chaim, Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba B'tom Cheha Me'usha. Etz Chaim Hi L'machazikim ba B'tom Cheha Me'usha. So come on in and find a seat, light those lights that usher peace. You can feel it, it's in your bones. It's a growing song that calls you home. It's
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
For safety and courtesy, please silence your cell phones. Before the service begins, I'd like to direct your attention to the emergency exits and other safety features. So you can see the green and red exit signs. And there's actually a secret exit back here too. There are exits on each side of the bima and behind the curtains. There are also exits at the back of the social hall. At the side of the sanctuary, the exits to the main doors through which you entered, and exit doors at each side of the lobby. There's a fire extinguisher and an AED near the water fountain in the hall back here, and another fire extinguisher inside the doors to the sanctuary where you entered. So please look now and find the exits closest to you. There's a plastic placard near you, and if you're feeling the need for extra security, you can look in the seat back to find it. In the unlikely event that we must evacuate, we'll meet in the southwest corner of the parking lot, over here, away from the buildings. Thank you for your attention, and again, Shabbat Shalom.
And in the unlikely event that we do have to evacuate, it'll be easy to spot Don in the corner.
Shabbat Shalom. It's great to be with you. Thank you to those of you who are with us here in 3D. It's great to be with you. And for all of those of you who are joining us online, thank you for being with us as well. It's nice to have you with us. We're going to begin on page 10 of our Siddur. If you're online, at least on our Facebook feed, I pinned a Siddur to your comments, so you can look at the flip book that's there in the sanctuary. We're on page 10.
Hine matov umanayim shever achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shever achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. Everybody join me. Hine ma tov. Hine ma tov. Umanayim. Shevet achim. Gam yachad. Hine ma tov. Umanayim. Shevet achim. Gam yachad. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem. Salam Aleikum. How good it is. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to
be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to
be together on this day. One more time. Hine ma tov. Hine ma tov. Umanayim. Shevet achim. Gam yachad. Hine ma tov. Umanayim. Shevet achim. Gam yachad. Shevet achim. Gam yachad. Shevet achim. Gam yachad. Middle of the page, page 10, Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh av harachaman. Yedid Nefesh av harachaman. Eshochav decha. El ritzonecha. Eshochav decha. Ya la 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 la. El ritzonecha. Yarutz avdecha kemo haya ishtachavei lai 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 ya la la lai 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 el muladarecha Yedid Nefesh av harachaman. Yedid Nefesh av harachaman. Mishochav decha. El ritzonecha. Mishochav decha. Ya la 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 la. El ritzonecha.
We turn to page 2 as we bless our Shabbat lights. And as we do so, we're reminded that as the candles bring light, that helps us to welcome the Shabbat with joy, that part of our job in the world is to be lamplighters, is to bring light into the world around us through our actions, through our words, through mitzvot that we perform in the world. So if you're able, we rise as we bless our Shabbat lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
You may be seated. If anybody who's sitting further back would like to move in, there are spaces. I know it's every other row, but there are spaces that are full. You're welcome to be there too. Don't feel guilty about it. Just don't not be up here because you don't think there are any seats. There are. And if you're sitting near the ends of rows, just let people in, please, if they come to your row. I'd like to turn us to pages 20 and 21. And before we enter into Lachadodi, it's our custom to reflect on the week that has passed, to go back to last Shabbat, to spend a moment on each day, its challenges and its blessings. I find it helpful for myself to take some deep breaths, to kind of center myself and be in this place and not everywhere else after I kind of go through the week and review, then to say, okay, and now I'm here. I'm present in this moment. So let's take a few moments in silence of reflection, and then we'll come back together for Lachadodi. We'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to verse 9, for those of you in the sanctuary, we rise and face the doors from which we entered. If you're at home, you can face the main door to your home as we welcome the Shabbat presence and the Neshama Yetera, the extra soulfulness that travels with us during Shabbat into our hearts and into our space, and Lachadodi. 20 and 21.
So 2 months ago, frighteningly, we introduced a special melody for Lachadodi to honor those who were struggling at that point, the beginning of their struggle in Ukraine. 2 months later, this struggle continues, on some levels even more profoundly dangerous and sad for the Ukrainian people than it was ever predicted to be 2 months ago. So I'd like to return to that custom. This is a melody of a Ukrainian folk song. I think it's easy to pick up. And so Randy and I will share those words, and as Rabbi mentioned, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and we'll rise before verse 9 for Boiva Shalom. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabla. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabla. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu el hanyuchan. Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'tcheimul tiferet v'litchila. Together. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei B'nai Shabbat Nikabla Lichadodi Likrat Kala B'nai Shabbat Nikabla Likrat Shabbat L'chuven elcha Ki mekor habracha Meirosh mikad Nesucha Sama'aseh b'maksheva Tchila Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai Shabbat nikabla Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai Shabbat nikabla Hitoreri Kiva orech kumi ori Uri Shidaberi Kevor alayich nigla Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai Shabbat nikabla Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai Shabbat nikabla.
If you're able to rise, please rise.
Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam b'simcha uv'tzola Toch emuneh Am segula Boi chala Boi chala Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai Shabbat nikabla Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai Shabbat nikabla.
Going to invite our bar mitzvah for this Shabbat to come forward. And we're going to continue on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yikadash Shmei Rabbah Be'alma divra hirute ve'amlich malchute B'chayechon uvyom echon Uv'chayeze kol Beit Israel Bagala Bagala Uv'izman kariv V'yimeru Amen Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olamu Me'al Mayach Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudesha Barich Le'elamin kol virchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiram be'alma v'yimeru Amen.
We continue with Baruch Hu, our call to prayer, on page 28. Just read it.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Praise Adonai to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai to whom praise is due now and forever.
Lai la 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 lai. Lai la 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 lai. Lai la 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 lai la 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 lai. Lai la 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 lai. Lai la 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 lai lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Last three lines in the Hebrew on page 30. El Chai V'Kayam.
El Chai V'Kayam, Tamidim L'Chaleinu Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Hamariv Haravi.
Amen. Page 34 and 35, Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
We continue with Ve'ahavta, page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am B'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha L'man tizkeru v'asitem ekotay v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti ethem me'eret Mitzrayim liot lachem l'chim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem. Amen.
We turn to Micha Mocha, page 40, our song of freedom.
Mi kamocha, Baili Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar Bakodesh, Nora Tehilot, Osei Feleh. Mi kamocha, Baili Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar Bakodesh, Nora Tehilot, Osei Feleh. Malchutcha ra'u vanecha, Okeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Eli, anu. Ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Mi kamocha, Baili Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar Bakodesh, Nora Tehilot, Osei Feleh. Nora Tehilot, Osei Feleh. Nora Tehilot, Osei Feleh. V'ne'emar Kifad Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo me'ad Chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Amen. Hashkivenu, we ask the Holy One to watch over us and to protect us, to give us a sense of wholeness as we lie down and go to sleep this evening, a sense of purpose as we rise up tomorrow, to shelter us with that Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace. Find the Hebrew of Hashkivenu on page 42 and English, top of page 43.
Top of 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Again.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. V'ha'amidenu, Shomrenu Lechayim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot Shalomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
We give thanks for Shabbat, for the rhythm that it gives to our week, opportunity to take a breath, for the time to connect to each other, to our deepest selves, to God. We join singing Vishamru, page 44.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ve'ni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. V'yom hashvi Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash. Ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasod et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam.
Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We continue with our Amidah beginning on page 46. I invite Ari to lead us. Pull your mouse down.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Hastei Avot V'Imaot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mehaye HaKol atah, Rav lehoshia, morid hatal. Mehakel chaim bechesed, mehaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim virofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al giverot, umidom elav, melech mimid umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, bene'eman ata l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol.
Page 50. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Shemo.
Ha'el HaKadosh.
Amen.
Please continue with the prayers of your own heart or the words of the prayer book through page 62-63. When you're through, you may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom to everybody. If you happen to be at the Yom HaShoah service last Sunday or online watching it, you might have heard a piece. It was called Anima Amin. The composer was Lazar Weiner. And Lazar Weiner's dates are 1897 to 1982. Very well-known Ukrainian American Jewish composer. And like so many of the great composers and musicians of that era, both Jewish and non-Jewish, came from that area of Ukraine, or came from Ukraine. And he specialized in the Yiddish genre, the art song, so he kind of was the complement of the classical composers within the Yiddish field, what Schubert, Brahms, and Schumann did for the lieder, or the art song, and classical literature. So he came to the United States, obviously seeking a better life, and he was employed for many years at the Central Synagogue in Manhattan, New York, and had a very active life, very prolific composer. I'll spare you the details, but I found it interesting that later in his life, we're talking like late 1960s, early 70s, he came to really dislike the trends of Jewish music, the way Jewish music was going with the profusion of folk and popular elements that were in it. So he was more of a traditionalist, more of a classical composer. I think it's safe to assume that he probably would not be a fan of Shlomo Carlebach, Debbie Friedman, all of the successors that have come since then that have used popular music in the Jewish idiom. So this is Lazar Weiner's setting of Mi Hamocha.
Thank you, Dr. Polfoy. In this week's Parsha Achrei Mot, we learn in Leviticus 18:5, Ushmartem et hukotai ve'et mishpatai asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam v'chai v'hem ani Adonai. And you shall keep my statutes and my judgments which a person shall do, v'chai b'chem, and you shall live by them. I am Adonai. I am the Eternal. So there's a classic explanation of the "and you shall live by them," which is found in Talmud Yoma 85b, which explains that this means safeguarding life as precedent over keeping other mitzvot in the Torah. Because it says you shall live by the mitzvot, and the rabbis go on to say you shouldn't die by them, right? You should live by them. So if you need to break a mitzvah so that you can live, you should do so. And there are all sorts of examples, somebody who needs to eat because of a health reason shouldn't fast on Yom Kippur. It can be threatening to their life, right? And the classic example of this that shows up in rabbinic literature is that one may desecrate a Shabbat to save a life so that we may observe many other Shabbats, many other Shabbatot in health. And so the principle is pikuach nefesh doche Shabbat, saving a life defers or overrides Shabbat, but this concept applies to much more than Shabbat. It's a concept that applies throughout Jewish life, right? Things that, in order to save a life or to preserve life, you can put aside other Jewish values that may compete, right, with that at a given time. So, if you're an observant Jew that doesn't drive on Shabbat or ride on Shabbat, and you have a serious medical condition and the ambulance needs to come, you shouldn't say, I can't get in the ambulance, right? Now, to you, that might sound like, oh, of course you would get in. But for people who take that observance very, very seriously, what ends up happening is they can go to the hospital, but they can't come home, right? Even if they're discharged, they'd have to wait because they can't at that point you're not saving a life anymore if you've already been treated, so they have to hang out. But I actually want to push it a little bit differently. The Rebbe of Kotsk, the Kotsker Rebbe, offered a different exegesis, a different commentary on the verse. He says, V'chai bechem can literally be translated as put life in them. Often we observe mitzvot in sort of a rote fashion, blindly going through the motions without enthusiasm. And the Kotsker says that the observance of mitzvot should literally be lively, right? We should put life into them. B'chai v'chem. B'chai b'chem. You should put life into them. The late Dr. Abraham Twersky, Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky, adds the comparison to mitzvot of food. While it's possible to survive on food which tastes adequate, which is bland, but gives adequate nourishment, vitamins, and minerals, we prefer to enhance our food with creative recipes, sauces, condiments to enhance our eating experience. Right? And this is really a concept when it comes to mitzvot that we call hidur mitzvah, the beautifying of a mitzvah. So I've been engaged in a number of weddings lately. I did one for my niece and just did one for my nephew, and I'm doing a wedding Memorial Day weekend for somebody who grew up in the congregation, right? And one of the questions that comes up over and over again when we use objects and things in weddings is, how do we create hidur mitzvah? How do we create, you can use any Kiddush cup. You could use a Dixie cup as a Kiddush cup for Shabbat or for a wedding, right? But the hidur mitzvah, the reason we have beautiful Kiddush cups is because of this concept, right, of hidur mitzvah. We enliven the mitzvah, we make it more beautiful, we elevate it by using beautiful things, or perhaps things that connect us to other people. So in the wedding that I just did, their chuppah was made up of 3 different pieces of fabric. One was a piece of the lace of a wedding dress that had belonged to her grandmother, right? And that was part of the fabric. Another was the fabric of the chuppah of his parents, and another was the talit of his great-grandfather, right? And that made up their chuppah, and in a sense, that way they were literally surrounded or covered by generations of their family before them, right, who would come. That made hidur mitzvah, a Kiddush cup that came from each side of the family that was used as they stood under the chuppah. And we could think of many, many things. And I bring this up because we have so many opportunities in our daily life. It's not just about objects, right? It's about, we create a hidur mitzvah in many ways of Shabbat. We beautify the mitzvah of Shabbat by sitting with other people around our table. If we sit down for Shabbat dinner, by having friends or family with us. When it comes to the whole idea of oneg, I know that many of us just think oneg means food after service, but the word oneg is actually joy. That's what the word is. I don't want us to think that it's really bad learning to think that food equals joy. That's not a good thing. That's not how we should relate to food around us, all right? But the idea is we have food and we have things to eat and we have a place to have conversation because that adds to the joy of our Shabbat. The whole experience is actually oneg Shabbat, not the food on the table, right? It's an opportunity to be with other people, and it's a hidur mitzvah. It elevates the mitzvah of Shabbat and raises it up. You fulfilled the mitzvah without that, right? But we have the opportunity to raise it higher. And this is the reason that, we wear clothes perhaps a little different when we come to the synagogue, or when we perhaps when we sit at the Shabbat table than when we, are gardening in the backyard, or, right, these kinds of things, because that's part of elevating ourselves as well, right? And we might pause before we, perform a mitzvah to really think about, like, if we're saying a motzi before we eat, like, to actually stop for a minute and think about, like, the gratitude that we have enough to eat in our lives. I don't wear a tie every day. It's not part of my wardrobe, nor a suit. But I do wear one when I lead services on Friday night because it's a way for me to show honor and respect for Shabbat. So when we put more life into the mitzvot, we are expressing our love for our tradition and a commitment to infusing our past with a continuing and a vibrant future. And so I hope that for all of us, we find opportunities to beautify the mitzvot in our lives, not just on Shabbat, but each and every day. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to turn now to page 253. So we turn our thoughts to all of those in our lives, in our community, in need of healing, of body, of mind, of spirit. We direct healing blessings toward them.
O Holy One, who blessed our mothers, blessed our fathers from ancient days, bless and heal those in our hearts, and hear our prayer as we say their names. HaKadosh Baruch Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem Lehachzikam Ulerapotam Ve'yishlach lahem Refuah Shlema Refuat HaNefesh, Refuat HaGuf, B'toch Sha'ar Cholei Yisrael. Oh, bless and heal those in our hearts, and hear our prayer as we say their names.
For those of you at home, please feel free to put names in the chat. We send blessings of healing to Rebecca Gilman, Hannah Fields Austin, Sue Tobak, Rosin Lefkowitz, Helen Weinfeld, Pam Poliakoff, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Caitlin Antrim, Judith Bosworth, Kathy Brewster, Jennifer Rudin, Marion Snyders, Brad Holland, Beatrice Caden, Meg Silton, Serena Postal, Bobby Kay, Marilyn Freeman, Robert Strober, Marilyn Lubarski, Ellery Einstein, Patricia Kramer, Joan Morris, Nomi Kravitz, Craig Sachs, Simon Saul, Blair Pollock, Myra White, Lori Snyder, Jeremy Knoller, Charity Razaday, Mike Klein, Lily Morrison, Sarah Coachman, Richard Handley, Barbara Fass, Joel Beasy, Burton Gershman, Carol Berlant, Janet Barong, Paula Steinbach, David Bush, Howard Bush, Dana Sundin, Lawson Spicer, Mark Fenton, Toyasha Sabag, Gloria Foster, Ava Bespris, Rita Warshaw, Ira Quatcher, Robert Gerard, David Gustafero, and
HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yemaleh Rachamim Aleihem. Oh, bless and heal those in our hearts, and hear our prayer as we say their names.
We turn to page 261. Page 261. We have a new month coming up soon. The first of ER will be on Monday as we move into a new month. And we're going to just pick up in the English in the middle of the page and then chant the bottom of the page. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good.
Rosh Chodesh Iyar Yeh B'yom Rishon V'Sheni.
The new month of Iyar begins on Monday, and Rosh Chodesh Iyar is Sunday and Monday as we move forward. And now, it is also time.
278, I believe. No.
You may be right. Let's look. Didn't have that page number written down. Yes, that's correct. 278. We're going to count the Omer for, as we've been doing since the second night of Passover and continue to do until Shavuot. So I'll let Cantor Paul start there at the top of the page.
Hinene Muchan Zuman Lekayem Mitzvah Aseh Shel Tzvirat HaOmer.
I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kidshanu b'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Al Svirat HaOmer.
Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer.
Hayom Arba'a Asar Yom Shehem Shnei Shavuot LaOmer.
Today is the 14th day, which is 2 weeks in the counting of the Omer. Now I'd like to invite Don Pollock back up to share a few announcements with you.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you for being here in the sanctuary and those of you online. Toda Rabbah to Rabbi Kupitz for leading our service in an inspiring way and with those words of wisdom in your sermon. To Cantor Bush for providing richness and voice and music, and to Dr. Randy Polivoy and his lovely pink shirt for his wonderful piano piece, and much appreciation to my colleague Claudia Gonzalez, who handles our technology so expertly. So congratulations to Ari Medina on his bar mitzvah, and thank you to our Oneg hosts for tonight, Janine Mann and Janet Beasy. Thank you also to the greeters, the outside greeters, Dina Benjamin and Deborah Norden, the lobby greeters, Gary Gilbert, Lance Watsky, and Sarah Truitt, and our parking lot monitors, Chuck and Candy Fisher. After the service, we'll gather in the social hall for Kiddush, motzi, refreshments, and conversation. And please take this opportunity to get to know someone new, which will help us continue to build our warm, personal Jewish community. We have a very busy May coming up, and I can only mention a few of the things that are on the list, if I can scroll through here. So you know that we're in the midst of the TBI's Yom HaAtzmaut celebration, and on Monday, the Brotherhood has an event, 7:15 in the Beit Midrash, showing historic Israeli independence film clips, which should be quite interesting. That's on Monday, May 2nd, Tuesday, May 3rd. The TBI Israel Committee has an apex role in America-Israel relations now and in the future, which is a Zoom-only event. The Israel Committee on Thursday, May 5th, has a Stand With Us. Jews are indigenous to Israel, and this will be in the Beit Midrash and on Zoom as well. And there'll be a special Shabbat on May 6th. And in Adult Jewish Learning, the third and final session on May 4th of Warriors, Worshippers, and Wives, presented by Gary Gilbert and Tammy Schneider. A couple of other things among the many coming up. Our annual auction starts May 5th, when the silent auction goes online, and there's lots of wonderful things to bid on. And the live auction will be on Sunday, May 15th at 7 p.m., and that's online only, with trips, gourmet dinners, and more up for bid. And then on May 14th, we have a special Havdalah service outside with jazz music and wine and desserts, and a preview of the auction, and there's no charge for that. Shabbat Shalom.
Only thing I wanted to add to what Don said, it has to do with the online portion of next week's Yom HaAtzmaut programming. You did get a special email, just in case you didn't see the one that came yesterday, with all of the links very clearly labeled, and manual information if you need that. So if you are not receiving TBI emails and you want to join in any virtual events, please reach us at tbi@tbipomona.org, and we will be happy to supply them to you.
We're going to move toward the conclusion of our service, so we'll turn to page 282, in the middle of the page for Aleinu L'Shabeach. If you're able, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Echad.
Page 294. Our thoughts turn to those who have shaped our lives, been important in our lives. They've left this earth, those who have died in recent days or at this time in years past. Remember Stephen Gerard, brother of Neil Gerard, David Grossman, husband of Adrian, father of Mark. We have other family here, father-in-law of Van and grandfather of Joey and Harry and Sam. Remember Esther Bespris, mother of Ava Bespris. Remember Lionel Ketchum. Remember the anniversaries of yortsites of the deaths of Herb Andrew, Anna Cohen, Rose Kimmel, Jolie Mandel, Marty Peterman, Stacy Polterak, Arnold Roth, Bruce Schneider, Jules Diamond, Michael Diamond, Steve Horowitz, Herman Cooperberg, Nina Lemasters, Joseph Morecki, Florence Sheps, David Slumka, Peter Snyder's Baker, Donna Willard, Esther Dabrowski, Dr. Jack D. Kirschbaum, David Rosenberg, Roy Abrams, Samuel Hecht, B. Isaacson, Robert Levine, P. Harold Peterson, Alan Roth, Emery Weiner, Ida Brill, Colleen Cohen, Samuel Krasny, Herbert Levin, Paul Levine, Charles Lubarsky, David Reisner, Margaret Russell, Lillian Sucher Dollar, Julius Title, Eugene Watkins, Ethel Ben Banilover, Harry Bleichman, Charlene Riva-Chester, Alberta Crespo, Martin Ellen, Michael Gilman, Arnold Morrison, Ida Ross, Socha Silverman, Betty Mae Tuns, Harriet Danoff, Lena Feinstein, Samuel Geffen, Richard Hirschfelder, Mel Laub, George Levy, and Sam Sacklin. If you're remembering somebody on this Shabbat and want to either add their name to those that I've mentioned or repeat a name that I've mentioned, please feel free to do so as I come by your row or put it in the chat. If you're in a time of mourning or observing a yortzeit on this Shabbat, I invite you to please rise. And I invite the rest of the congregation, it's your custom to rise in embrace and support of those who mourn. Yet Kaddish is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
B'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olomei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei dukudusha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata, da'ami rambi alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. We turn to page 321 for our closing song, Adon Olam.
Rabbi mentioned in his Dvar Torah this evening the idea of adding joy to the mitzvot. So with that in mind, we're going to close with the Adon Olam as set by Bon Yeshur. As we re-engage in person, we're going to try and reintroduce some of the variety that we offered before 2 years of kind of a narrowness set in just due to what we were doing. So this is one example. Hope you can join in. And if you can't join in with all of the Hebrew, you can always join in on the Lailais. So.
Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'ed nasa b'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei iglot hakol levado yemloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu oveh ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמזרח והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי ועצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי ונת כוסי ביום אקרא יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 בידו אף קדרכי אישן והעירה ועם רוחי גוויעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא ועם רוחי גוויעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא
My soul I give to you.
My soul I give to you.
My spirit in your care.
My spirit in your care.
Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Draw me near, I shall not
Hold me in your hand.
Hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Safely in your hand.
Please join us in the social hall for Kiddush, Motzi, refreshments. Shabbat Shalom. To you, those of you online, thank you for being with us. Shabbat Shalom. See you soon.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being with us.